Ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoiners, pre-coiners, no-coiners, and shit-coiners, welcome to Swan Lounge, a weekly show in which you get to hang out with the Swan team and some of our friends in the amazing world of Bitcoin. We do this show every Friday, and it's called Swan Lounge because, we're lounging. Unlike our more serious show, Swan Signal Live, Swan Lounge is about kicking it with our friends, talking about the week's biggest events in Bitcoin, and just having fun. But before we dive in, we're doing something that I think is pretty darn cool. Sorry, I'm out of breath already. We're giving away Jan's book. Go to swanbitcoin.com/free book. It's one of the best books in Bitcoin. We're giving it away for free in an effort to spread Bitcoin knowledge. You can go to swanbitcoin.com/free book to claim your copy. We have it in 3 different ebook formats, an MP3 read by our friend Guy Swan over at Bitcoin Audible. All we ask is that you pay it forward by sharing the book with at least 3 friends and family, preferably more. Now, to all the Swan Force members out there, we've set up a way for you to give away the book to help you recruit new Bitcoiners. Look in your referral dashboard and you'll find a link you can use to send people to your Swan Force landing page so they can get the free book offer and you can get the referral credit. And if you're not signed up for Swan Force, what are you doing? Go to swanbitcoin.com/enlist and get paid to recruit new Bitcoiners. It's a great deal. You'll earn 25% of Swan's fees on their purchases for 3 years, and your referral will get $10 of free Bitcoin if they become a Swan member and start saving $50 of Bitcoin a week or more. Also, make sure to watch to the end of the episode because we have a very special segment called Swan Force Fridays. I'm sorry, guests, I haven't told you about this, but we're going to put you on the spot and give you 60 seconds to hear your best Bitcoin pitch. Finally, the daily buys beta is underway. Go sign up. Actually, it might already be live. Sorry about that. I'm going to take that away. Before I bring in our guests, one last thing. Please, please, please smash that like button and hit subscribe. Why? Because it'll help us beat those no good, dirty YouTube algorithm, which in turn will help us spread the good word about Bitcoin. So please smash that like button. Smash the like button. See, I put it right there. Smash that like button. And now, without any further ado, we've got 2 great guests. We've got Scott Melker, the Wolf of All Streets. We've got Isaiah Jackson, the author of Bitcoin in Black America. And it's time for Swan Lounge.
Damn, Ricky.
Are you out of breath, Breck?
I am. The show's too long. I've been trying to shorten it, and it's just not happening.
Man, so we've got a first timer on here. This is pretty cool. The Wolf of All Streets. What's up, Scott? How you doing?
What's up, fellas? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we've got the COVID version of Zay on the show. Got the scraggle, got the hat.
Oh, yeah.
That's the new dad version, man. That's the new dad version.
Yeah, new dad version.
Nice, man. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, appreciate that.
Tell us about it, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, she's 3 weeks old, and she is, like everybody's saying, a Bitcoin baby. She already owns Bitcoin. She's definitely in the 0.1% of 3-week-old babies, Bitcoin holders. Yeah, it's great. Anybody who's been a new father, new parent, you understand. Sleep doesn't really come, but it's all worth it.
100%.
That's awesome.
1%
Nice,
of babies. I love it.
Yeah, Corey, I'll be calling
baby
you
Zay.
with the advice. I know
All the other babies of the world are going to come occupy Zay's house for being top of the top 1%.
Man, yeah, being a girl dad this year in LA is a pretty special thing. I know you're not like the biggest sports fan, but there's got to be something interesting in there for you.
Oh, definitely. Oh, Lakers won, so
They did.
Dodgers won.
And the Dodgers won. That's pretty much the only teams I follow. So
There you go.
Pretty good year for me so far. Everything's going right. Bitcoin is up. The Lakers won. Had a daughter. Wait, what more can you ask for?
Yeah.
I'm not much of a sports guy. I participate in competitive stat stacking, which is a very intense sport. I highly recommend it. You can't really lose. You just keep stacking. It's wonderful.
You can lose. It doesn't seem like it's.
We're gonna get into that.
Like Scott.
We're gonna get into that. We don't usually have people that trade on our shows, so we're gonna get into that a little bit and dig into the mind of an active trader and Yeah, actually not a bad jumping off point. I'm curious, I think people in markets are aware that just being in the top half of stock market traders doesn't mean you win. You probably got to be like, top quintile or top quartile to be in the black. My suspicion has been for a long time that in crypto markets, you've got to be more like top 5% or top 3%. And those people are taking all the money from everybody else. And I feel like now with DeFi and how complicated that is, like if you aren't really insider and really on top of everything and auditing smart contracts and you part of the pump and dump groups and all that stuff, like if you're literally not in the top 0.5% or top 1%, those people are taking the money from the 99%. What's your take on kind of the structure of the market and like who's taking money from who in this sort of like crypto zero sum trading game?
I think it changes day to day, season to season, and bubble to bubble, to be quite honest with you. So obviously the DeFi hype that you talked about is reminiscent of the ICO bubble in 2017. You'd be crazy not to be able to see those parallels. I mean, speaking generally, a lot of it is timing, right? If you happen to just get really interested in Bitcoin in June of 2017 and altcoins and you made a ton of money and actually were like, fuck it, I'm out. That didn't make you a god tier trader. That just meant you had really good timing and had like the presence of mind to take your money and run. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people have been profitable at times. How many of them actually, realized those profits and weren't just paper profits, I think is probably far less. I mean, there's been studies. They did a famous study in Taiwan years ago that said 95% of traders fail. And it goes even so much further than deeper than that. It's not even like 95% fail. It's like 95% fail in the first 2 months and are broke. So it's not like I had $100, I went down to 95 and I quit. It's like I put my $10,000 in, I have zero. I got to go somehow find a way to pay my rent. So trading is not for everybody. I would say it's not really for anybody. And even the best traders should only be trading with a very small percentage of their money. You know what I mean? So like I've lost more money than I can even like fathom sometimes in the last 20 years trying to trade. It's been very good over the past few years when I've actually like honed in, but like it took me a long time just to get past 20 years of losses to even call it profitable. And then if I had just put that away, I would have been so much richer anyways. Right. So I think that you should be investing with 70% of your money, 15% should be in cash for buying dips, and you should maybe trade with 15% of what you have, even if you believe you are like the god tier greatest trader of all time. You know what I mean? So
is that roughly your portfolio allocation? Like
that's how I generally do it. So like, I'm really serious about managing risk. I'm very conservative, I think, especially for this market because I come from other markets. But yeah, I mean, there's been times like May, June, I remember this year, like I was up to like 50% that I was trading with, but only because the market was so crazy. Like if the altcoin market is going absolutely insane, I don't want to own altcoins. I just want to make more Bitcoin. And so I'm gonna definitely like push the limits a lot further. And that's part of risk management is actually knowing when to trade, when not to trade, and how much of your stack to use. It's not just like the meme, I'm going to lose 1% on each trade, right? Because people take 50 trades and then lose 1% on all those altcoin trades at the exact same time and have lost 50% of their stack. So that shit doesn't work at all. But yes, generally I like to be 70, 15, 15. And I used to keep only like 10% in crypto at all of everything. But I've since COVID started and I've just like gotten so disillusioned, call it an emotional decision or whatever. But like, I just don't rebalance anymore. If the crypto grows, it grows. It's going to be as big as it's going to be. And I really have no urge to put any money in other markets. Bought some land, but like, I'm not trying to really put money in other markets. I don't even know if I answered your question, to be honest. I think I just went really tangential and kind of bananas. But as for the specific crypto market, who's taking the money? I mean, it's so clear, right? Like someone literally creates a project, gets you to invest in it, and then takes your money. It's not even like, this isn't a matter of like being manipulated by some whale trader who's amazing. They're literally just, you're sending them money and they're leaving with it. It's like an old mail scheme, it's not.
American HODL had a tweet yesterday where he was basically like calling out shitcoiners, and it was kind of sad. He was talking about a friend of his who called him up, who had the rug pulled on him on some DeFi project, and the guy was like almost on the verge of suicide. Like it was bad, and like there's a lot of lessons to be learned. which you've brought up, thankfully, and Swan is doing their best to kind of educate on. So, trading is a full-time job, or don't do it.
Yeah, and it's not like, it's just an emotional thing. It just takes that long to control your emotions and become sort of a robot about losses. It's like your ability, all of trading is just your ability to like accept a loss and move on with your life. That's the singular like main skill that keeps you going. Is like, I get raging pissed off if like the running back on my fantasy football team gets stuffed at the 1 yard line, but I don't get mad at all if I lose on a trade. You know what I mean? I don't know how I have that detachment at this point, but like, I'm competitive. Shit pisses me off. It's just trading doesn't, But I mean, the DeFi thing is crazy. And so just really quick advice to anyone. And I've been saying this since the beginning with Uniswap, and that the bubble popped anyways, but like, there's no stop losses. So you have to calculate your entire position size on a trade to be like, if your risk management is, I'm going to lose 1% of my portfolio on a trade, the entire size of your trade on Uniswap can't be bigger than 1% of your portfolio, because your stop loss is literally zero, right? Like if you're trading on Binance or Coinbase or whatever, like you could risk your entire portfolio size. Your portfolio size could be your entire portfolio if your stop loss is 1% below price. You'll only lose 1%. But on Uniswap, you have to calculate for your stop loss being zero. So like, that's a very sad story you heard. It's because somebody's an amateur and obviously doesn't understand what they're doing. But there's no such thing as going all in anything in this world. Parenting, maybe, but otherwise,
What about
not in market?
Maybe Bitcoin. You said
all in? No, I don't think anyone should be all in anything. I think that's actually a terrible financial decision to go all in Bitcoin, because what if we have deflation, right? Governments are afraid of deflation, not inflation, right? They like inflation. That's how they steal your money. That's how they reduce value. That's the plan. The reason that they do all this money printing, all this, is to avoid deflation. So if the central bank actually loses control and we have deflation, you want to have money. The richest people in the world are the ones who can buy up everything when they have cash, when the prices of things are depressed. So I don't think you should go all in Bitcoin. If you're going to do anything, always have cash. Always. I don't like cash.
I got to take issue with that, just because I think that's kind of like a pre-2020 narrative, really.
I lived in Miami in 2008, and the richest people I know on the planet are the ones who bought all the real estate in Miami in 2009 and 2010.
Yeah,
I have friends who literally were buying like lots for $500,000 and a year later selling them for $35 million.
So this actually brings us to the first topic I wanted to get into, which is, what does it mean to be on a personal Bitcoin standard? And, when we're talking about like going all in on Bitcoin, for example, like I consider myself all in on Bitcoin, but it's different than what other people consider. Like, I still have 6 to 12 months of, of cash in the bank, and then the rest of my wealth is in Bitcoin, So I'd love to get some perspective. Maybe Zay, if you want to like talk about this, at Swan, we've been kind of, inspired by the example of people like Michael Saylor adopting a corporate Bitcoin standard. But, what does a personal Bitcoin standard mean to you?
Oh, yeah, Michael Saylor, shout out to him, but he was late. My personal treasury has been mostly Bitcoin since like 2014. So I'm with you, Berkey. Same thing where a lot of the savings and financial packages that are put in front of you just don't match up, especially on a long enough time scale, not even close. But I would say, I always tell people don't go all in on Bitcoin. However, all in for some people is everything that they have to trade with or everything they have to invest. If they're going to put it in the stock market or try and trade themselves, I tell them just buy Bitcoin instead. So I would say that is an example of quote unquote all in. But going forward in the future, I don't really see anything outperforming Bitcoin. So honestly, if you kind of do want to go all in on Bitcoin, this is not investment advice, that's fine. But as a savings account, I would say Bitcoin is probably your best bet. So in 10 years, I think that conversation will circle back and we'll be able to say we were right. But yeah, right now it's looking pretty slim for other things as far as savings goes.
Give a little Bitcoin. I'll just give a little twist on this, because one thing that people often don't take into account when thinking about their portfolio is actually essentially a fixed income stream that you have for the rest of your working life. And so if you're able to earn, essentially your basically long fiat in a bond portfolio, which is your monthly earnings for the rest of your working life. So yeah, while I would agree with Scott, like if you're retired, it's pretty silly to be 100% Bitcoin because you just never know what will happen like in the next few years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. But I actually personally don't think it's irresponsible at all if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, to consider Bitcoin your cash. That is your cash. And you can sell it for real estate if you spot an opportunity. If you think there's actually a 70x in 6 months because of some real estate market, which would be amazing, and then sure, go ahead and grab that 70x in 6 months if you see that opportunity. But I feel a lot better holding my money in real money, not fake fiat money, especially when it's convertible instantly anywhere 24/7 for the fiat you would need to pay to buy into a startup or do a real estate deal or whatever it is. So yeah, I think more and more people are starting to think about like anything that's not nailed down goes in Bitcoin. And that's kind of what we're starting to talk about, a personal Bitcoin standard handle. Not my handle, but my name on Twitter now is Corey.pbs. Combat those ETH heads.
I thought you were a huge public broadcasting system fan.
Yeah, I know, right?
We're taking that one back too. I feel like there's like such
access
minimal
TV
overlap between PBS watchers and Bitcoiners that they probably aren't even aware that exists.
And you don't want to go. You don't want to go with IBS, individual Bitcoin standard, because that's
don't want to do that one.
No,
nobody
wants that. I agree with you guys, by the way. So, like, I think all in, it's a matter of context, as you said. So, I think if you're young and like you have your emergency fund set aside and you know that you'll be okay, then sure, have at it. You know what I mean? And I agree. Like, I view Bitcoin as my savings account. I'm not trying to save money for my kids. If we're calling dollars money, you know what I mean? I'm trying to save Bitcoin for my kids. I put it straight into multi-sig, which I never touch, and it's going to sit there indefinitely. I have no intention of ever selling it. So that is my savings account. And I agree with you, but I do think that there's value in other assets as well. It doesn't have to be like all in anything. I just think it's a dangerous notion because you just never know with anything, right? You never know. Like I felt for 4 years like we were one Trump tweet away from like that beautiful savings account of mine disappearing at any moment because you just never know. So anything could happen.
He did tweet he didn't like Bitcoin.
He did.
He actually tweeted it the day I released my book. That was kind of weird.
That's a conspiracy.
I was like, holy shit. I was like, this is the best promotion I could get.
Hey,
that's
some good.
It really was good timing. Yeah.
Gotta tip your PR agent for that.
Yeah, no, thanks for the PR, Trump. I appreciate it. You saying you don't?
Kushner's his PR agent.
Let's get into that tweet you had yesterday because I saw that and it was just one of those. You have these tweets like I'm sure you have more of them. I just don't see them all the time, and I see it and I'm just like, fuck, man, he's right. So this one hit me hard yesterday, and I want to get into it. I'm gonna put it up on screen and read it, and then if you could give the backstory, I think that would be really rad. So, one time I proposed a 100 Bitcoin purchase by a Black financial group full of millionaires to help solve the city educational problem. The cost then $50,000. The value now $1.6 million. You could build a school for Black students with that money, but no. Let's ask the government for help. Whew.
Yeah, these fucking idiots back in the day. It pissed me off back then because even now it's like it could have been more. But it was a group of financial people in the city, mostly a group of millionaires. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I was wearing this exact hoodie when I pitched it back then, 2015. But I was 24 years old, and all of them were 50, 60, already established. So it was kind of weird, a 24-year-old in the hoodie trying to explain to you, this is what you should do with your money. However, I thought the pitch at the time, they had a problem, and I was like, well, here's a possible solution. All of the other solutions were, let's get the local government to change the budget. Didn't happen. Let's try and get grants. Let's try and do after-school programs funded with vouchers. None of that works, and in my opinion, they waited for it to happen. It never happened. Funding actually decreased, and they didn't have Bitcoin, so it was like a double loss. And in the Black community, a lot of things about improvement in certain areas comes about, but whenever you bring a solution that's quote unquote too radical, some people are taken aback by it. A lot of times, a lot of people in that group, they grew up some of them went to segregated schools, so their progress, they think this is good enough. And I just kind of came in and was like, no, this is not the end. This is something even better. And if you want an actual savings account or some sort of war chest to fund some of the issues that you're talking about, Bitcoin is possible. This is when Bitcoin was $500. And again, like I said, my proposal was just 100 Bitcoin, 50K. One person there could have purchased it like that night. But this other lady spoke up and was like, gold is better. And then I tried to make a bet with her. I said, hey, I'll bet 1 Bitcoin, you bet the equivalent in gold. I bet you Bitcoin's price will be more than gold in the next 5 years. It actually happened in less than a year. It passed whatever gold's price is, 15 or 1600. So I couldn't get any traction. However, I'm back in Charlotte now, and now they have to pay for any type of advice or education about it.
Good.
The first time was free, but this time, no, definitely. But that's just one example of the many times I've either proposed it, and they were like, no, and you're too early, and it's not developed enough yet. And I kind of understood now looking back, because, like I said, I look like this. But at the same time, if you want solutions, you got to try something new. Jesus Christ, anything. And Bitcoin, to me, was the best solution.
So I've got a question then, because I feel like a lot of us may have these types of stories where we tell someone about Bitcoin and either our pitch wasn't good enough or they just weren't in the mindset or whatever it is. And I'm really not in favor of I told you so's. I don't think they're very helpful, as fun as they can be. So, have you spoken to these people again, or do you have what's the strategy for the second round after you've been proven right?
Well, some of them individually have reached out. They actually supported it then, but they didn't know what I was talking about. They just thought I was smart and liked me, and they were like, all right, well, let's try it. But then it was like 4 people out of 60. So those 4 people have reached out individually, and yes, they've taken to it, and they've sort of sent it out to the other members. Still haven't, as a group, tried to do anything with it, but we'll see if they can change. Hopefully, enough outreach, enough. I mean, maybe Bitcoin passes all-time high, FOMO starts, and then all of a sudden people want to buy. It's amazing, the psychology. Scott, I know you deal with that psychology of trading or of asset. At 4,000, nobody wants to hear. 500, nobody wanted to hear. At 200, nobody wanted to hear. But now at 16,000, everybody's ready to learn about Bitcoin. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I can't remember the quote, but basically, I think it was Buffett who said stocks are the only things that nobody wants to buy when they're on sale.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that is so true and unfortunate. But yeah, that story, I had to put that out just because it was a few people that were saying like, hey, how exactly could Bitcoin ever help the Black community? There's so many other things wrong. And I was just like, well, you got to start with money. I mean, anything else that's wrong at a certain point, what are you going to fund it with? Hopes and dreams are not going to do it. And just marching doesn't work. So we've been doing that since. We have the same median value since the 60s. So everything since the 60s to now we've done has not worked, in my opinion. But that's it. So let's try something different. And I think we're getting to that point now.
I feel like for disenfranchised communities, especially, like Bitcoin is just a no-brainer. But unfortunately, we'll get there. We'll get there. So speaking of psychology, Brady had a great thread this morning that I wanted to get into. I think kind of ties right into what we were just talking about. So I'm going to put that up, Brady. If you want to read through it and give us a little backstory, that would be rad.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is the idea of escape velocity that Preston Pish has been talking about, and I've been talking about it as well, following up on his. And so here's the I guess, case for escape velocity this cycle. The 2017 run was run by retail traders, speculators, and they were denominating all of their gains in fiat. I think this run's going to be dominated by the fear of missing out on adopting Bitcoin as a reserve asset. So what I like to call HODL FOMO, which I think is just a great way to put it. Let's meme this thing out there, guys. We're going to have HODL FOMO this run. So widespread HODL FOMO begins with building widespread trust in Bitcoin. We couldn't have it in the last run because there wasn't trust in Bitcoin as a money or as a store of value. But Bitcoin has been significantly de-risked over the past 3 years. We had the fork war that ended in a decisive win. We had major corporations starting Bitcoin projects, and the OCC declared that banks can, open Bitcoin accounts legally. I guess HODL Bitcoin on behalf of people. Of course, we have like congressmen saying Bitcoin not shitcoin and calling it an unstoppable force. PTJ saying that every day the Bitcoin survives, confidence, trust in it goes up. The Bitcoin network has been up for almost 12 years with 99.98% uptime. Like challenge any other system to meet that, and in terms of trustworthiness. And then of course the most important sort of tip, the domino that tipped, the kind of kicking off the HODL FOMO on a corporate level, on a massive level for high net worth individuals, the MicroStrategy move. That was followed by the Square move, which confirmed that as a trend-setting move by Michael Saylor. So in 2017, speculators were chasing one another around in a game of cat and mouse. And when that game ended, everybody ran to fiat, right? That was their unit of account during that run. In this cycle, I think we will see a steady, like a fear of missing out on holding it as a reserve asset, which means you're flipping it on your head, right? So if you're denominating your gains in the amount of Bitcoin that you're going to win to be able to hold in this race, right? Then it flips everything and it basically gets rid of the idea that we're going to have this big burst at the top of this next cycle in my mind, because people are like big corporations and people are choosing to hodl this with intention for a long time as a store of value because they trust it now. And so we'll get, instead of a burst of a bubble at the top, we're just going to get like, block by block by block increase of the floor of the Bitcoin USD price. And I wrote that the fundamental shift of Bitcoin is a short-term fiat-denominated speculation into a long-term fiat hedge speculation is the fuel that will achieve Bitcoin's escape velocity from fiat's gravity. So I think that could will happen this cycle. I don't think there's going to be another cycle. I think we're on a point now where we're just like stair-stepping up based on HODL FOMO because HODL makes the number go up.
Somebody's called it like a bubble that keeps bursting upwards or something like that. I can't remember who said that. I don't like to use the word bubble, but it made sense. I don't know. Scott, I saw you shaking your head there.
Oh no, he was just using a lot of big words, and because I didn't understand him, I felt like he was insulting me.
Brady, that wasn't.
He was just like, I was like, ah.
Sorry, I talk too fast.
That was good. That was good.
Awesome.
Run for office.
Brady, that was a believable and realistic story.
Hey, thanks, Reed. That's an incredible endorsement coming from Reed.
I don't like any mental models regarding Bitcoin. Big time, believing anyone in particular is dangerous. Just as believing we're going to have another cycle and it's going to be just like the old cycle. That's just as dangerous as saying all the cycles are over. But just as believable, in my opinion, is the cycle will continue as it always.
I mean, it would be a singular departure from history for it to be a one cycle thing and there never to be another cycle. That's never happened in the history of any market ever. So, hey, man, I'll believe it when I see it. But
yeah, that's not exactly what I'm saying. I mean, there are going to be ups and downs, obviously, but in terms of these massive run-ups, speculative run-ups and massive 80-90% drawdowns, I don't think we're going to see that again. I mean, it's always going to be a drunkard's walk up that line, but I think we're going to see steady setting of the floor at a much more aggressive pace. And so when the speculators decide to dump, I think that floor is just going to be a lot higher than people will think it is, because
I agree with that.
A lot of that Bitcoin's going to corporations and maybe even nation states that are going to be hodling it,
Yeah, I mean, and people forget that even in the most bullish of crazy bull runs for Bitcoin, we had 30% corrections once a month. So that would from here, you're talking about dropping down to the 12,000s. That's going to scare the shit out of a lot of people, but it's completely par for the course and nothing bearish about it. You know what I mean? So that's what happens in a bull run. Yeah, if the whole parabolic thing breaks and we drop 80%, back up the truck, buy it all. But I don't think I don't see that happening anytime soon. I think that we're just starting to cycle up again. I think that it's you have limited vision if you think that 20,000 is now the potential ceiling.
So both of you gentlemen are very smart and have been in this space for long enough to know what's what. But there's one thing I learned during the previous bull market that I hold as an immutable truth, and that's nobody knows a goddamn thing about anything. Anyone who claims to know for absolute certainty run away. Not you guys, because I know you guys are caveat and speaking about this intelligently, but a lot of people claim to know what's what, and when push comes to shove, nope.
Yeah. We're already for 11 years. We don't know what's going to happen, but it would be crazy, Brady, like you said, with what you're proposing. Also, remember in 2017, people buying $16,000, $17,000 Bitcoin. They're just now happy. So that's 3 years ago. So people that buy, I think in this next bull run, you might have created a 5 to 10 year holders just because they're going to buy it like, let's say 30, 40K. And, you know, if we have those corrections, they're going to stick around to see that profit, most of them at least. And then, of course, the smart people will just be waiting for dips. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because it seems like every big market cycle, we create a longer type of holder. Where if they want to be in profit, they have to stay longer. So you're literally sucking up assets as you go. And it's crazy how it happens. It's amazing to see. But I think we're all expecting that. Just how high can we go? Who knows? What if there's a supply shock? Like, you know, you have some of these places selling Bitcoin IOUs, PayPal, and they have a point where you know the amount of Bitcoin they're trying to buy is less than the supply of miners. I think Cash App is going to have that problem at some point, maybe.
We're already there.
Yeah, we're already there, right? Yeah.
Grayscale's bought like 1.5 times the Bitcoin mined in the past few months, more than the Ethereum mined as well. It's already there, yeah. So I mean. That's why we're here, right? Limited supply. Isn't that our entire pitch?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And there's gonna. It's gonna get
pitch, not Ethereum's entire pitch.
There's a lot of that, but Ethereum, that is.
Which Ethereum are you speaking of? There's like 3 now.
Classic, obviously, the real Ethereum. Crickets.
I mean, there's like 100 Bitcoins too.
Did they accidentally fork Ethereum like 2 days ago?
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Yeah, what happened there? Yeah, what happened there? I saw a line there. I'm not too well versed on Ethereum right now. I haven't looked too much, but 2.0 did it
unexpected chain split leads to service outages. Ethereum underwent a hard fork today, a few days ago, that disallowed firms in the cryptocurrency space from properly servicing their users. Blah 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 blah. Basically, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of crazy that so many people who are Ethereum supporters don't care about the centralization issues. You know, Infura goes down and half of DeFi goes down. Like, I don't know. It's a very fiat-y system, in my opinion.
I think they're just very different investments. You know what I mean? Like, I think that the problem starts when you compare Ethereum to Bitcoin. The only real relevant comparison is that they're cryptocurrencies, right? Everything else about them is different. One's more of a platform. One's more hard money. Like, you can't make a hard money, digital gold argument for Ethereum. But if you've ever paid $700 gas fees to trade some garbage food coin on Uniswap, you know that there's a place for it and that it's needed. So like that, there's a use case for both. They're just completely different. That's why I get so lost in the argument between the maximalists, because who gives a shit? Like what you like and leave me alone. Like, get off my Twitter mentions. I don't even put them in the same category. So yeah, they're just different things. Yeah. Like, imagine someone who thinks Tesla is a great stock getting super pissed at everyone who buys Amazon.
Exactly.
Who cares?
Fair. All right, gents. We've talked about price movement. I think we've kind of, exhausted that to death. I wanted to touch.
No, never.
All right, Brady, take it away.
I'm good.
Or
number. I mean, the name of the episode is "Number Goed Up."
I'm putting this on the screen, so
I like that past tense.
It did go up this week. I mean, all right. Before we go off of price, we have Scott here. I want to know, I hear from other professional traders that 16.4-ish is the last line of resistance on the charts before all-time high. Is that your analysis as well?
I mean, it depends on what chart you look at. So I really, time frame. Sorry. So not to joke, but basically once we cross 13.8-ish, it's clear skies on the monthly chart. So we never had a monthly close above that in history. People forget that 2017, the real parabolic run was 3 weeks, a couple weeks. You know what I mean? We were there, came all the way back down. And so we never saw those candles closing if you're looking at the chart. So of course, just to give everybody ridiculous like analysis over analysis paralysis, I flipped that wrong. The last month closed right at that line and slightly below with the slightest little wick above, and everyone started screaming, rejection, it's over, we're going to 1,000, we're going to be homeless. And then, of course, now we've seen it launch right from that on the November candle. So for me, yes, there's plenty of little resistances, but if you zoom out and try not to be an asshole and lose all your money in between when you know this thing is going to continue up, if it drops to 13.8 again or something like that, maybe 12.5, if that would happen, just talking about kind of those 30%-ish, go all in with whatever you were planning to go in with, you know what I mean? And just step away and be patient. But yeah, I think these levels that we're at now are key-ish, but if you really zoom out, there's not, it's just 2 long wicks and 1 line at 20K.
Yeah, man. How many times do we get to bounce off 20K before busting through?
I don't know. I hate making predictions because let me tell you, it's a 0 upside proposition. 100K by next month, or I delete this stream. Like I don't,
No, I get it.
No, but remember the resistance line at 6,000?
There's no resistance at 20,000. So like the idea of resistance, well, there is. The idea of resistance obviously is just like human fear and greed, right? It's like what area is everyone really scared or really greedy? So like I don't think that there's like a ton of leftover sell orders sitting at 20,000 from 3 years ago that people are like, I just can't wait to feel this. You know what I mean? Those people probably sold at like 6,000, right?
Yeah.
That's human nature. They finally got to the point where it was like, oh crap, and they sold near the bottom. So, but I do think everybody's watching that line. So it could go either way, but it's not going to last long, in my opinion. I think if it gets quote unquote rejected there, it'll be just like what we just saw at the 13.8 line, where you think it's rejected. And then a week later, you're all celebrating huge numbers. But I think also like, again, who cares? Like everybody sitting here thinks it's going way higher than 20,000, right? So why even trade it?
Exactly.
And that's the thing about traders. I bet I could tell 100 traders that the price of Bitcoin in 3 years will be 100 grand with certainty. I can't say that with certainty, but if I could tell the future and say that, and I bet that 90 to 95 of them would have no money left when it got there. Even knowing with certainty that the price was going to be there in 3 years, because they wouldn't have the patience to wait and they would try to stack more sats in the process and lose all their money.
It's a marshmallow test, man. It's the global marshmallow test. Hodling ain't easy. It ain't easy.
But this is the time you make money doing nothing.
Exactly.
Like, why try? Just buy it. Buy it now, buy it next week, buy it in a month. Who cares? It's going up, exactly. Most likely.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like you're not advocating for 100x longs in this bull market.
No, I'm not. I'm never advocating for 100x long. I don't even see a reason to put a leverage position on right now. You know, just ride it. It's going, like, if you really, really, truly believe that it's going to go up, and you'd be hard pressed in this environment not to continue to believe that, even if it goes back down, just buy it and don't be an idiot. Like, it's the hardest thing in the world to do, but you're going to make a lot more money just sitting on your hands right now than you're going to make trying to like beat the market or be, you know, Gordon Gekko.
Scott, I want you to be my money manager, man. You're like the most reasonable trader I've listened to ever.
It's amazing though. There's people making millions and millions of dollars doing exactly what I just said, managing other people's money. Yeah, all of these funds, like, and I'm not hating, like Morgan Creek, you know, all these funds are just buying Bitcoin, and they're doing it for people who don't want to do it themselves and have a lot of money. Like, oh, you don't want to deal with it yourself? Pay me 2 and 20 and I'll do it for you. You know what I mean? Hey, like 2% to manage whatever you're giving me, and I'll take 20% of profit, and all they're doing is buying dips.
To anyone out there who's watching, Swan Lounge is much cheaper than any of those money managers.
0.99% on your buys, and you just set it and forget it. You don't have to do anything. Log in once, set up your plan, 0.99%, log back in 3 years, and you'll be good to go.
I check my stock portfolio like every 6 months. to make sure like I still have money. Like that's how you should treat your Bitcoin portfolio as well. But nobody does. You're like Blockfolio with the like breaking your thumbs trying to refresh. But
while we're on the topic of shills, I've added a shill to the shill list. It's important. I don't get any flack for this one. If you're watching at home and you want to spend a little money, you've made some gains, go to bitcoindevlist.com and donate to support Bitcoin development. It's important. Anyway.
It's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah, Bitcoin Dev List. We would love to see Swan put in some kind of like checkbox for, tip the devs, donate to the devs with every purchase.
We've been talking about
I have a little poll there, so maybe we'll see if we can make it happen. No, I said it live. I can't go back.
I know.
Scott, I got a question for you. I actually sort of got into Bitcoin through the trading route because it was these like moon charts that like suck you in and are like, oh my God, I'm going to make $1 million in 3 months because somebody just drew a parabolic. And then over time, you see all of these charts break and you realize like, oh, this person who has 10,000 followers on TradingView or 10,000 followers on Twitter, like actually has no idea what they're talking about.
You know what?
Turn into hodlers.
Yeah, that was the best part of the best last 3 years.
Like, do you see that happening?
Yeah.
Like, even in the trader world, do you see
First
that?
of all, when I came to like trading crypto, I did it strictly to make dollars. So like I am exactly what you are describing, right? I was a dude who was trading. I had just quit like my music career and DJing. I needed to find something else to do. I had a kid and I was like, I'm okay at trading. I'm going to do this, And everyone was like, Bitcoin, like Ethereum, go trade this stuff. So I was looking at charts and I was just trading it, going right back to dollars, right? And I think the most popular person at the time in TradingView was Magic Poop Cannon. If that tells you anything you need to know about what you're talking about right now, it's literally a dude named Magic Poop Cannon, right?
Totally. I remember Magic Poop Cannon. Those were the days.
Everybody's a genius in a bull run. Right? And everybody's a genius in a bull run. I got there when it was a bull run. So like, yeah, all those people, like I said, you make crazy money when the timing's right, but if you never sell, you don't, right? So all these people were trading altcoins. They went down 99%. And then I've always made the joke, especially not necessarily with Bitcoin, but with altcoins. It's like first you're a trader. Then all of a sudden when you move your stop loss, you become an investor. And then when the price really drops, you become a passionate community member, right? I love, like, you didn't even know what Ripple was when you bought that shit, dude. Don't even lie to me. And now all of a sudden it's like the global standard for cross-border transactions. And you're like trying to sending Brad fan mail, because you're down 98% and you need to like mentally justify your investment that was really just a trade that you had a stop loss on and then decided to pull your stop loss because you didn't want to lose money. So yes, that's a very long-winded way of saying exactly what you said, which is that traders become unwitting investors, and then all of a sudden you just realize that you're spinning your wheels. Like I don't even know what full-time trading is, like I trade for like 10 minutes a day at the most. It's not what I want to do all day. Like staring at a chart is just going to make me make bad decisions. That's what I'm talking about. Like I look at the monthly Bitcoin chart and I'll take a position where like I could put a stop loss at 7,000 and not lose all my money because I don't want it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that with time and now, like I said, I came for the money and I stayed for the use case. Like I became one of these like weirdo kind of pseudo maxis because I was trading it so much that I wanted to understand it. That gave me an awareness of what money was. That gave me an awareness of, central bank policy and then going through the last few years of insanity in this country in general. And I'm not talking necessarily about which party was in control or anything. It's just the very nature of like, I think it would be hard not to have had an awakening in the last 6 or 7 years in general. If you were also into Bitcoin, that amplifies it. And then COVID hits. And I think it just blew all of, everything you kind of believed in or whatever out of the water. And yes, you just become a holder because you believe in it.
Mm-hmm. Zeta, do you start out as a trader at all? Or like, how did you get in?
Yeah, well, I was in the Poloniex chat box heavy back in 2014, 15. Man, and honestly, as far as trading goes, when I first started, I always thought that the price was going to go up long term anyway. So most of it was accumulation. Didn't make really way too many trades. I had a little trading bot that did some stuff, but my biggest thing was on Poloniex was sitting there for the comments. I don't know if people remember the Poloniex comment section, but it used to be the funniest. I mean, it was like 1,100 traders, I think, at like its max, at that time. And people all around the world joking about this was going to pump, this was going to happen. You would sit there and watch a coin pump 80% in 2 hours. It was just a great time. So I was learning on the go. Like, I have more of a tech background, but at the same time, I knew the potential of it. So I ended up not really trading as much, just becoming a holder. And because I have pretty strong hands, I would say it worked out well, because most of the stuff I bought, I ended up just keeping it. In 2017, got rid of a lot of the altcoins I had a long time ago, and just stuck with Bitcoin for the most part. So it's it's one of those things where if you are a successful trader, I would say I was successful. I was in the black. I mean, I was positive, but it wasn't something like Scott said where you want to sit there all day and stare at charts. You'll go crazy. I mean, I did that for probably like a 6-month period where I thought it was that was the way to go. But yeah, it doesn't work. I had a head.
Oh shit!
No.
I think it's a catch-22 also, because like to be able to make a living trading and not doing what we're talking about, like staring at the charts, like you have to have spent time staring at the charts, right? I mean, you have to become good at, you have to do the like outliers, 10,000 hours, whatever, the meme, like you have to get good enough that you can like kind of do it passively. But like, I mean, staring at charts all day is just like, you're just going to start seeing things that aren't there.
By the way,
like, yeah.
Way to reveal that you haven't read Bitcoin in Black America. I'm sure Zay gets into it. Actually, Zay, I haven't read it either, because I'm waiting to get an autographed copy next time you're in town.
Shame, you can
The
read
words still work without the autograph, though.
Yeah, send me an address. I'll send you the autograph copy. I got a few for you.
I read it before we had the Zay and Max Kaiser Swan Signal Live episode. I got it on Kindle and read it, and it was great. And you should go check out that episode, Swan Signal Live. It's on this YouTube channel. Max Kaiser and Isaiah. It was fun. It's a great one.
We should address some of the comments in the chat, because people have been talking about something called Corn Hub, and I'm sure
is that a competitor to Bitcoin TV? Damn it, we already have a competitor.
It's a bunch of weird porn-loving farmers from Indiana.
Hold on. Actually, I'll share it with everybody. Give me a second.
Yeah, so we launched this thing called Bitcoin TV this week.
Bang, bang.
There it is. It's a 24/7 stream of the best in Bitcoin, all the time. We've got about 40-ish hours of content looping on there now.
Yeah.
We're building that up quickly. And man, we've had a big, I didn't know how it would go over, because all this content's available on demand and stuff, but it's really fun to have it live, have a lean back and kind of just like watch and learn about Bitcoin. And then the real surprise to me is the live chat that's going off all the time. So that's the kind of the magic, is you're laid back, you're like come up with something a little surprising instead of hunting it down, and you talk about it with people hanging out in the chat. And so I've been having a ton of fun hanging out in the chat. So out of the blue, of course, we launched this week, and out of the blue, there's this thing called Corn Hub that comes up. And I mean, look at the logo. Look at the Bitcoin TV logo. I mean, I don't know if we can zoom it in. Yeah, see, so
they just Corn Hub. Yeah,
right. So
I don't know why I know
they just totally stole our idea, like straight up, and the branding.
It's hilarious.
Anyway, cornhub.tv. I don't know if it's up and running just yet, but
but it will be. So some of our super fans have been calling it Corn Hub, and we've embraced that name as well. BitcoinTV.network, or you can find it on our YouTube channel. Whew. Anyway, folks, we're getting towards the end of the episode, and this is actually my favorite part. 1 second, we lost Zay.
He's coming back.
Oh my God.
Sorry, Zay. Maximize.
Now it's only Zay on my screen. It's awesome.
Zay
you consume the entire chat.
Yeah, Zay TV now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Zay, we're going to talk to you. I want Zay on Bitcoin TV like all the time. So let's talk. Let's do something.
Let's do it.
I was saying before we disappeared that we're getting towards the end of the show, which is my favorite part of the show. It might not be your favorite because I'm putting you and Scott on the spot. we're calling it Swan Force Fridays. And basically what we're going to ask you to do is you're going to get 60 seconds. We're going to put you on the clock to give your best Bitcoin pitch. And you can choose who you want to be pitching. You could pitch the Black community. You could pitch your grandma. You could pitch whoever you want, or you could just do a general pitch. But we're going to put you on the spot. We're going to give you some constructive criticism if it's needed. Probably not, because you guys both know Bitcoin. So give me half a second. Going to add. Bang, bang. All right. Who wants to go first, gentlemen?
He already wrote a book. I think he can go.
I'm trying to think who am I pitching to. And I think the books are a good pitch to the Black community. I would say pitching to kids, because I do have a big thing, innovative learning, where it was starting at Bitcoin summer camp. So the way I pitch to kids usually is actually pretty simple. I always ask them, hey.
Wait. We got to start the countdown. This is my thing, all right? Let me do my thing. Ready? Oh, the clock's going.
Oh, yeah. So whenever I'm speaking to a kid, I always ask them, hey, do you want to have more money than your parents? And usually they're like, yeah, that would sound pretty good, especially if they're teenagers. And I say, well, in the future, if you start with Bitcoin now, you'll probably have more money than your parents. And they usually are, pretty hype about that. And that's pretty much the pitch. And then after that, I tell them also, if you get into the Bitcoin market at the expense of your parents, you can actually do what you want, because Bitcoin is freedom. And then all the questions come after that.
That's great, man. That's all you need.
Yeah, and I always throw in one example. I helped a 15-year-old kid get into Bitcoin. By 17, he had his own apartment and paid for his way to college. And his mom called me and said, he won't listen to anything I say. And I was like, that wasn't the intention, but he took it to heart and ran with it. But I know how kids are. If they like it, they go with it. But yeah, that's my pitch.
I love that, man. That's amazing.
Love it. We haven't had anyone do the kids pitch, so that's a good one. Scott, who are you going to pitch? Are you ready?
I mean, I'm always ready, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, how about if I pitch all my Wall Street friends from Penn, because I've been doing it for 3 years and they're finally cracking.
Wait, you went to Penn?
Yeah.
I went to Penn. What year?
I'm 99. I'm probably a lot older than you. You're like, yeah, 2014. Actually, did you get in? You're my son and got in on Legacy. Good job. What year did you graduate?
Quite a bit later than that.
What year?
2013.
Yeah, see? So 14 years.
Yeah.
Different place. You wouldn't have believed what that school looked like 14 years before you went there. Cool story, guys. Great. Thanks for sharing, Scott.
I was waiting for more details.
No, I mean, it's just like now you go there and it's this incredibly modern, insane place. Like the neighborhood is clean. When I went to Penn, like you went on the tour and all they told you about was like where the blue light phones were for security. Like because like it was really at that time, it was still West Philly in the 1990s, and then it became University City in like the early 2000s when they really like cleaned it up. But it was that was the pitch, was like, don't worry, you'll be safe here. And it's crazy because the Penn Police Department was like it was a department of the Philadelphia Police Department, but their sole purpose was like protect the students at all costs. So you could do anything you wanted basically on campus, and the cops were basically like your personal security force. But it was pretty crazy. So now it's like the campus is probably 10 blocks wider in every direction basically than it was then, because they started buying each block. Basically, Penn would buy all the houses, put the professors and stuff, and give them to kind of I guess clean up the neighborhood. So just very different place than it was. I go there now and it's like walking down Rodeo Drive.
It's an interesting school. For another time.
Yeah.
Wall Streeters, let's do this. Let's hear it.
Yeah, they don't listen to me, but I continue to pitch them anyways. But anyone who understands economics should understand very simple supply and demand, right? And what anyone who's on Wall Street wants to hear is that they're going to make money, right? So just giving them a basic pitch, an understanding of what the halving is, that we have fixed supply and that supply reduces over time, finally should. And then when they start to see other Wall Streeters buying, the Michael Saylors, the Bill Millers we've recently seen, the Paul Tudor Jones, Druckenmiller, when they're starting to see these guys now buying, they're seeing that there's actually significant demand on Wall Street for an asset that's going to have supply side shock and limited supply. So let's play to the financial side of these people and say, do you want to make money? Buy Bitcoin, because the supply is dwindling, the demand is increasing, and the number basically can only go up over time.
That's a fantastic pitch. You can thank me, by the way, because Reed wanted to give you 6.15 seconds on the countdown, which I think is very unfair. And
what about 61.5
seconds?
Oh,
there's some amazing pen questions over here. It's amazing now in the chat.
If you're ever on the Penn campus, there is a Ben Franklin statue. Stay very far away from it. Everyone and anyone pees all over it in the middle of the night, and God knows what.
So my favorite memory of that statue, which is right in front of the quad, right there on Locust Walk, is Donald Trump Jr., who was the drunkest, worst person I've ever known in my entire life, who I went to school with at the time, with his arm in a sling, with his broken arm, but the arm was like stuck out of the sling, and he was asleep with his pants down, pissing on the Benjamin Franklin statue.
Well, in my year, it was Tiffany Trump who was there.
Yeah.
Along with Naomi Biden, who is Biden's granddaughter. So
they probably got along well.
When my brother graduated, I was sitting very close to Trump and very close to Biden. He does graduations better than anyone.
Best graduations. So I was a tour guide at Penn. Like, that was my summer job, was giving those tours I was talking about. And they had a rule that we weren't allowed to answer questions about Donald Trump. And this is in the 90s. They were like, because on every tour, someone would say, "Didn't Donald Trump go there?" And you'd be like, "Oh, have you seen this building over here?" Like, you just had to ignore it completely. Like, they wouldn't even own it. It's crazy. They let his kids in, though.
Reed has wants nothing to do with this conversation.
Oh, I'm out. Yeah, I'm out of Penn camaraderie. Never
inspiration. No. I think we, at least for me,
I like these stories.
Had a lot of unlearning to do after that. What other fun stories?
After going to Penn? Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, for sure. You understand now why it's so hard to convince our friends, right?
Well, what's funny is I'm in a Penn like Telegram group for anyone who works in the crypto space, and it's like 90% Wharton, and most of them like work for Ripple, and I'm just like, what is wrong with you people? You're terrible. So anytime someone
community members,
I just hop in there and I'm just like, oh, somebody mentioned Bitcoin. Wow, I'm just like super snarky to all of them because I can't deal.
I didn't know there was another person at Penn who cared about Bitcoin besides myself. So
I
actually take you as my only friend.
Well, I'll add you to this group, and we can come at these Ripplers sometime.
The funny thing about altcoin communities is they're always branded in terms of the military. It's the Link Marines, it's the XRP Army, and then with Bitcoin, it's sovereign individuals. Like, we aren't reporting to the state and taking orders from anyone.
We do have the Swan Force, though, which is more of the Air Force.
Cyber Hornets, the hot.
Yeah, imagine taking orders from Brad Garlinghouse.
Oh, by the way, Brad Garlinghouse graduated from KU, my alma mater, which is not something to be proud of at all.
Better than Donald Trump Jr.
Yeah, he was scheduled to come to the campus and give a speech until lockdown situation happened. So if that I was looking forward to it. I couldn't wait. It was going to be awesome. I was going to record it, and I was going to get a lot of likes on Bitcoin Twitter because he was taking questions. But I would probably the Ripple Army probably would have just like tackled me before I even got like 4 words out. So
yeah.
I believe they're officially the XRP Army. I don't even know if you're allowed to call them the Ripple Army. You might get in trouble for that. Actually,
I think they don't like.
They're very different, XRP and Ripple. I don't know if you guys know this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sorry, XRP Army.
I think this is the first time that that altcoin has been mentioned on the show, and
Really?
to Sad day for Swan Lounge.
We talked about Ethereum just a little while ago.
Yeah.
There's some relevance to the conversation there.
Well, we should have an entire altcoin show where we just trash altcoins and the people.
Yeah. Oh, Guy Swan, who does Bitcoin Audible, he started a show called Shitcoin Insider.
Oh yeah.
And,
I mean, like I said, I don't care what you invest in. It's just hilarious to see the reaction. It's like, are you really that adamant about Cardano?
So that would be fun. Actually, I would enjoy that. The Shitcoin Insider guy talks to this dude who's anonymous, but he's a shitcoiner, and he's like a reforming shitcoiner, and he just tells all this inside shit, like, you know, about the world of shitcoining, and it's fucking awesome. Like, I love it. Check it out.
It's one thing to trade altcoins to make more Bitcoin. It's another thing to, like you said, like believe that Cardano is the future of money or something. I don't know. Anyway, gentlemen, we're coming up on the hour mark, or we've gone past it. I wanted to get some final words and final thoughts for the viewers before we close out. Zay.
So make sure you get Bitcoin in Black America, first and second edition. Some of my thoughts about the industry going forward. This is the time. If you were on the fence, get off. And for those of you who have been a part of this industry for a while, keep pushing. I see people saying that Wharton friends are impossible. You talk about Penn. Fuck those people. They'll have no choice in the future. That's usually what I tell people is you can think what you want, but you won't have a choice. So you might as well start now. And shout out to Swan Live. Love being here. And we got to get on Bitcoin TV soon. Yeah,
definitely. All right, Scott.
I agree with everything you said. First, I would say buy his books. Because I haven't written anything. You can watch me with hot takes and follow me on Twitter. But he actually produced something. But I 100% agree with that, actually. Like, fuck them. Because at the end of the day, they're going to buy later. They're going to have to buy later, as you said. And a lot of the big money, and I think it's something really important to keep in mind, we've seen MicroStrategy put in $500 million into Bitcoin, right? And I talked to Michael Saylor about that actually last week on my podcast. The dude blew my mind. And what he actually said, which was almost prophetic, because he said, I'm a billionaire. I'm going out on a limb. I'm saying how much I own, how much my company owns. I convinced my shareholders, my lawyers, he's like the board to do this. He's like, but I'm like out here alone on an island. I need more billionaires. We need 9 or 10 of them to come out there and say, listen, like, yeah, try to hack me. Like, I own this. You know what I mean? And just this week, we've seen Druckenmiller, Bill Miller. We've seen all these billionaires starting to talk about not only that, like, it's better than gold, but also, oh, yeah, I hold this. Right. So that trend is starting. And what's important to realize is MicroStrategy can get a percentage of their treasury into this, but Apple can't because it's too small. They want to. These huge companies want to have exposure to an asset like Bitcoin, and they can't. When it's $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, and the market cap is in the trillions, and then they want to dedicate 1% of their treasury to Bitcoin, they'll be able to. So keep in mind that we talk about institutional money and big money, but we're so small that it actually requires the space to get bigger, which it will, for them to come in. And that's how price goes to these absurd valuations that everyone's talked about. It's inevitable, and it's going to be the richest people who are buying high that make us all insanely wealthy.
I couldn't think of a better way to end, except we've got a Corey Clipston who's going to join us right for the end of the show.
Hey, Corey.
Closing thoughts for the people at home.
Did we just wrap up right now? This is the first Swan Lounge that's ever gone 1 hour.
Yeah. Brecky's trying to keep he's dropping the hammer on us.
Right.
I love it.
For Bitcoin TV, we got to fit these things into hour-long.
Fair enough. Have we shilled everything Swan related already?
No, we haven't. Would you like to do
just
that?
XRP?
Have we gotten Scott and Zay opportunities to shill things they want to talk about?
We have.
They're good.
Very strongly as of today. And then you ruined it. You came in and ruined it.
I just climaxed, and now here we are.
Oh my God!
Awkwardly,
Scott Mike dropped it perfectly.
Really? Well, let's
no,
just end it
really.
then. I mean,
not really. They're just trying to make you feel bad.
Yeah, we're good. You're good.
But whatever. Let's share a couple things that we've got going on at Swan for those people that are still here. I don't know. What did you shield already today? You talked about Jan's book. You talked about people can give away Jan's book and recruit new coiners with that. That's pretty sick. Did we talk about Bitcoin TV?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Talked about that.
Cornhub.
We talked about Cornhub.
Yeah, our competitor.
I have 2 things to go. The first.
Go ahead, Reed.
The first being that we just automated wires. Now in your dashboard can handle wires as small as 2,000, 10,000, 100,000, as large as $1 million directly from your dashboard. So if you want Bitcoin quickly, that's the way to do it. And we are about to be rolling out, or we just rolled out, the beta list sign up for instant ACH buys, which will allow you to buy Bitcoin directly from your bank account, not using a wire, within a few minutes. So super excited about that. Daily buys have now been fully rolled out, but instant ACH beta sign up is up, and that you can sign up for that.
Isn't it amazing that we have to rely on wiring money, which can take days, to be able to buy Bitcoin, which takes minutes? I mean, can we just, the absurdity of that?
We gotta move this fiat into Bitcoin somehow.
I was thinking about that, like how related it is. Like as the banking system gets under stress from negative rates and the rise of Bitcoin, they're going to make it more and more difficult to get the money out. So get all your money out now and just put it in Bitcoin now, because it's going to get harder later.
I had a land transaction a month ago, and obviously COVID is a big issue or whatever. But I had to physically go to 3 different banks just to be able to wire my own money to the person for the closing, because I went to the first one. They were like, we can't authorize it. The person who can authorize a transaction that big isn't here. So I had to go to another one where they sent me, and then the person wasn't there. And I had to go to the 3rd branch just to be able to send my own money to someone else. Right. So, I mean, Bitcoin actually fixes this. We say that all the time, but you experience that on a regular basis dealing with the normal banking system.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I tried to pay in Bitcoin. They were not having it, though. I mean, I tried to. I really did. But
let's look back 10 years, right? Like when you had to use what was that place? What was that thing called? There was a service. I can't even remember the name of it, but there's a service that it was kind of like PayPal. It was like an off-brand PayPal,
like Western Union.
Yeah, it wasn't Western Union either. It was something I can't think of.
Pony Express.
But you would use a purple phone. They had purple phones at like 7-Elevens and shit. And you would pick up this purple phone and you would give them your bank information, and they would put money into your account. And then you could use that money to buy Bitcoin at Mount Gox. But you literally, to buy Bitcoin, had to roll down to your 7-Eleven, pull up a KYC over a purple telephone, and then they would pull some money. And then maybe 10 days later, it would show up in your Mount Gox account. I think that's the way it worked.
So it's better. So that's swanbitcoin.com/buy now is the sign up for the beta for that. That should be live on the site within another 10 days or so, something like that, for the beta signups. So that should be pretty cool. What else is coming out? I don't know. For people that didn't know already, we started onboarding entity accounts. So that's been awesome. We've had a bunch of companies putting some of their treasury in. So you can go to swanbitcoin.com/treasury, or just email treasury@swanbitcoin.com. And then, I guess that's pretty much it. I guess, anything else new? Let's let Scott off the hook. Sign off with your, I don't know, most people have owl calls or swan calls or something.
Parenting things. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
See you,
Appreciate
Scott.
it. Thanks for being here. I didn't get to talk about Bitcoin TV with you guys, so I'm just gonna say how much I love being able to just dive into a 24/7 global chat with Bitcoiners any time of day with that in the background. I just think it's amazing.
While watching bullish educational Bitcoin content.
Right. Synchronous viewing and just being able to riff on what's going on and what's being talked about any time of day. It fills such a need for me. This is what we were doing. Oh my God, it's freaking Friday night or Saturday night. Kids are in bed, wifey's at her friends, or, talking to her mom upstairs or something. And it's I would just put out the bat signal and get on a Zoom with 5 or 6 Bitcoiners from around the world. And most of the time you don't need that anymore, because you can just kind of hit the chat.
I want to ask, is there a show in there where people disagree? Where they say they don't like Bitcoin? Because I'm pretty sure
we have like a debate between Saifedean and George Selgin.
Yeah, I was gonna say I kind of want to find everybody who doubts it and just invite everybody and just one by one, just like line them up with like Breed Love and like God and like just knock them down. Just as an idea, but that would be great.
That would be a lot of fun.
I mean, that's also kind of what it's for. We try to thread the needle with the programming so that it is one URL that you can send to a new coiner where they're going to get the best of Bitcoin and learn what they need to know and figure out who is sort of like authoritative and eloquent on the subject, and then go follow more of those people. So if you watch, 6 hours over a week and, Breedlove speaks to you or Sailor speaks to you or whatever, like, to go look up more from them, or Max or Andreas or whatever, or catch you're in the first, you made the first cut. You and Max are in the initial rotation. So congrats on that. Hallowed ground. And they can go and look up more from Zay if that's who they want to learn from. So we see it as kind of like top of funnel way to get in and then dive in deeper, and kind of farming out links to all of those resources that are featured on the channel. But then we also know that Bitcoiners want to, watch the best content over and over again. So that's the other bar. So it's got to be good for new corners. And it's also, any piece of content on there is something that we enjoy watching multiple times. I think I've already watched Parker and Valis like 3 times in the last 8 days since the launch, because that's just such a good conversation, and I just want to hear it again and again and again. And I feel like,
3 screens in my house, so that if I go from room to room, I don't miss anything. Brady and I are doing the programming, so I know exactly what's coming. I've seen most of the content, and I'm still watching it. So if that says anything,
I'm in the same boat, man.
Bitcoin TV.
All right, cool.
One final show again, bitcoindevlist.com. Go donate, support Bitcoin. You're doing a good thing. It's a mitzvah. It's Friday. Shabbat shalom, my fellow Jews, if you're out there. Final words?
That's all for me. Appreciate you guys.
Keep stacking.
17K or you're not Zay.
Corey's
17K today. Oh, yeah.
Rhymes no matter how high we go. 100K, you're not saying we can just keep doing that. All right. I like that.
Girl dads for the win. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Congrats again, man. That's awesome.
Enjoy that. All right, folks. It's been a pleasure.